Well, you're right on time for breaking today. Good evening from where you're watching us from, and happy holidays. My name is Joel Church and our sign language interpreter is Teresia Washira. On a day that the Ministry of Health has announced 69 new COVID-19 cases from a sample of 1,987 tested in the last 24 hours. 6 deaths and 98 recoveries have also been reported. We have a lot in line for you, and these are our top stories. Independent candidates intending to participate in the Nairobi gubernatorial by-election beat the deadline for submission of papers to IEBC. In a special feature tonight, our reporter Harry Chimea tells us the need to raise awareness around epilepsy, as 2 in every 100 Kenyans have epilepsy. You are about to spend less on sugar, as the Ugandan sugar has been allowed to tap the Kenyan market. Well, be sure to reach us via 111-444-111. Kicking off our bulletin, independent candidates in the Nairobi by-election submitted their names to the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission, IEBC. And IEBC had selected the 28th December 2020 as the deadline to candidates vying for the gubernatorial position as independent candidates. However, candidates vying for the position through the ODM party ticket were also expected to submit their names today. But as Daniel Karuki reports, there was no activity at the ODM official party headquarters.
52 days to the Nairobi gubernatorial by-elections. Different political parties and independent candidates have begun officially expressing their interest for the county's top seat. Today, marking IBC's deadline to the independent candidates with interest to the position, several candidates appeared to be the deadline at the IBC headquarters by handing in their names.
I've come here back to IBC and I've been referred back to 21st floor. So it's just a circuit of being referenced from one office to the other office.
Today being the deadline of you expected to submit your papers, do you think you're going to manage to beat this deadline?
Okay, on my end, I've tried the much I can. I've moved with speed. If I were to clear, I was supposed to be cleared on 24th because I came with everything ready, every paper ready. Until now, as you can see, I'm still waiting for them to consult, then maybe tell me the way forward.
However, at ODM's official party headquarters, there was no activity despite ODM party officially announcing today is the deadline to candidates submitting their names to the party with interest in vying for the Nairobi top seat. Jubilee Party had also marked today as the deadline to candidates with interest for vying for the position through the ticket. Meanwhile, through a statement, exile lawyer Miguna will contest in the Nairobi gubernatorial by-election through the Dwe Alliance party ticket. The city's boss seat fell vacant following the impeachment of Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko by the Senate over gross violation of the Constitution, abuse of office, misconduct and crimes against national law. Nairobians are expected to go for a by-election on the 18th of February 2021. Daniel Karuki for Switch TV, Nairobi.
Still on matters politics, the move by Amani National Congress Party under the leadership of Musalia Mudavadi to fill Peter Oscar Nabulindo as their candidate for the upcoming Matungu constituency by-election slated for March 4th, 2021 has elicited debate. The son of the former MP Justice Murunga, who spoke to Switch TV earlier today, castigated Mudavadi for not showing support to the family after the demise of his dad. Eugene Ambwere will now vie as an independent candidate against his mother.
At home, I can say at home she's my mom. But right now, she's a candidate like any other. I'm a candidate like any other. As for Matungu people, what I can tell them is vote wisely. The ball is in your hands. It's not a time where people were looking at parties, that this is ODM, this is ANC, this is KANU. Do not look at the party. Look at the vision carrier. If this person has the visions that will help the people of Matungu, then that's the right person. But if this person does not carry that vision, then I would advise, even if it's me, if I'm not carrying that vision for Matungu people, then don't vote me in.
Meanwhile, NC party leader Musalia Mudavadi is mourning the loss of his mother Hannah Atsanzale Mudavadi Through his Twitter account, Mudavadi announced that his mother passed on while receiving medical treatment at Nairobi Hospital. Mudavadi urged Kenyans to pray for the family during this difficult time. In his message, President Uhuru Kenyatta has condoled with the family, saying Mother Hannah was a generous and humble mother who raised a family that contributed to the development of the community. ODM leader Raila Odinga also passed his condolence through Twitter, saying Mudavadi has lost a mother, a friend too, adding that the family may have lost the family pillar. The late has died at the age of 92 years. May her soul rest in eternal peace. Elsewhere, the Tangatanga Brigade in Kisii County has reiterated it will not support the Building Bridges initiative, claiming there has been no civic education to the general public. This comes after it received a number of supporters, including Justice Charles Nyachai, who is a former Constitution Implementation Chair and a judge at the East African Court of Justice, and Omingo Magara, who is the party leader of PDP. Of course, speaking over the weekend at Suneka in Kisii South Sub-County, the faction's leader Joash Mangi, is also Kisii Deputy Governor, said the train to popularize DP Ruto had left the station.
Even if I'm the only person in the whole of the county of Kisii, I will vote no. Again, I don't have enough time to tell you all the reasons why I will vote no, but I'll just quickly mention 3 of them. First of all, the procedure has been completely wrong, because telling us that this BBI has been subjected to 2 years or 3 years of consultation, I don't know how long. But the truth is, what is before us, what we will be being asked to vote on the referendum is not the BBI report. You will be being asked to vote on the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill. Yeah? And that bill has not been subjected to public participation. How can it have been subjected to public participation if the bill which was unveiled in Kisii was one version, the one Obama's was a different version, and the latest one that we saw at the time of signatures is a different one?
All of us who are here today have agreed to work together as leadership of Homoxy, and we have decided that we will campaign for William Ruto for president, and we will make sure that as we do that, our individual differences will not matter. We will campaign individually, kila mtu atatuma kiti yake, lakini pale juu tumekubaliana ya kwamba we will support the deputy president.
Our focus now on matters education. Different members of parliament from Kiambu County, led by Jude Jomo, have called upon the Education Committee in the National Assembly to ensure that they have rallied all schools countrywide before the students report back, in order to ensure that all means appropriate in containing COVID-19 have been put in place. The legislators said this, adding that the money provided by the national government is not enough. They also recommended the government to allow the use of National Government Constituencies Development Fund, that is NGCDF, in completing these activities. They are now asking for help from the national government to look into this matter, which has become a great obstacle.
The classrooms are not quite enough, and when it comes to spacing, changamoto iko, kwa sababu kila darasa inatakiwa kama watoto ama wanafunzi 20 hivi.
Even if it means we put a section or part of CDF money specifically to fight COVID, the issues we're talking about, this can be a very big issue if it's not taken care of. So I'm requesting the executive to ensure that we get serious with this COVID issue.
We know that the government have set aside some funds which are supposed to go into these kind of activities. We have not received the funds as yet in our primary schools.
Now, after a report filed here on Switch TV, residents and business owners in the Embakasi East constituency are now at peace after the repair of the Nyali Road, which had been in a depleted state for years now. The residents say that the repair of that particular road has boosted the ailing businesses and promoted security in the region. Robert Auma gives us the update of the road.
This has been the situation of Further Nyali Road since early 2018, after the 2017 general election that led to the voting in of the current Member of Parliament, Babu Wino. Then, residents had their personal and societal issues, businesses were at their worst, security took a wrong turn, and many long optional routes were used to access areas of residence, which, according to the residents, it was expensive. Exactly 29 days after Switch TV highlighted on the state of this road, which has been the thorn to the flesh of residents, the situation has changed.
Nyewe biashara zetu zilikuwa zimeharibika kabisa. Juu customer walikuwa wamehama anaenda ile barabara nyingine. Na hata walikuwa wanatupigia simu kutuambia tuwezi kuingia kwenye mko nje barabara yenu inaharibu magari zetu. So vile sasa tumeona tumetengenezewa, tunashukuru.
Businesses are now on the rise. Security is checked and the long, tiring optional routes are no longer used.
Kulingana na ile kazi ambayo inafanywa, nimeona kazi iko sawa sawa na pia pande ya biashara itainuka. Na pia nasema asante kwa mbunge wetu Babu Wino kwa ile kazi ambayo amefanya.
It took more than 30 minutes for matatus to move from Nyayo Gate B to Further Junction, but now it takes less than 4 minutes.
Jamu ilikuwa inashika mpaka Kwale chini. Tulikaa almost 1 hour. Sana kama hii mwezi ilikuwa masaa kama ya saa moja, watu walikaa almost 2 hours. Hii barabara ilifungana mbaya.
However, the residents here are still urging the contractors to improve on the drainage system, even to better the performance of the road.
Barabara saizi iko sawa. Huyu contractor pia anafanya kazi mzuri. Kazi yake tumefurahia. Ile kitu sasa tunataka tu watutengenezee hiyo drainage vizuri. Wasipotengeneza hiyo drainage pia itakuwa kazi bure.
I'm expecting the business to boost iende juu kabisa, because access sasa it's easier to move the goods from one place to other. It's easier to move the deliveries from one place to another. Yeah, and it's through Switch TV that has done that, because it's barely like 25 days since the issue was aired about the pathetic road here further than Gate B. And right now it's very okay, very sufficient, things can move easily. Yeah, and I'm so much grateful for Switch TV for coming through. And right now you can see kazi Babu Wino ni kazi imeeleweka vizuri na kazi imetendeka.
Now business owners and residents along the Nyayo Further Road have all the reasons to smile. To residents, a good road is a sign of good life. To business owners, the now improved road is a sign of business making profits. Robert Oma, Switch TV News.
Well, indeed, the impact of Switch TV in our society. And as well, if you have a story that you feel should be aired, be sure to reach us via 111 444 111, and we'll be gladly there to help you out. But for now, we are taking a short commercial break. We'll be back with more news. Stay tuned. welcome back to Breaking Today. My name is Joel Church and our sign language interpreter is Teresia Washira. Moving on, according to the National Epilepsy Coordination Committee, that is NECC, 2 in every 100 Kenyans have epilepsy, with the prevalence being higher in rural regions compared to urban areas, thus creating the need for awareness around epilepsy. And our reporter Harry Chimea spoke to 2 persons living with the condition and a champion of epilepsy who cycled from Nairobi to Arusha and climbed Mount Kilimanjaro in a bid to demystify myths around epilepsy, acquire funding, all while creating awareness. Listening.
8 years ago, Sharon Bugwa experienced her first seizure after suffering a head injury. Going from one hospital to another, specialist to specialist, misdiagnosed with a heart condition, later traveling to India to see a neurologist and undergoing surgery. She was then diagnosed with epilepsy in 2018.
So basically what happened between 2016 to 2018, I had several seizures, and those would be, you collapse. And different ranges. The initial ones were, like I was saying, really strong, because when you collapse, you're foaming at the mouth, your eyes have rolled back. And then I believe it was because of medication, then, the severity reduced. But you see, it would still happen. And then I go for medical tests and it's clear. And by that time, I don't know why that is happening. It was actually quite frustrating at the time. So I got my diagnosis in 2018 that I had epilepsy.
She says support groups, medication, and staying away from triggers have helped her manage living with epilepsy despite stigma being a major challenge.
It's so interesting. There's somebody who we're in the same chat group, and we got to talking, and he was telling me he started having his when he was younger. His mother actually took him to the police station. So she said, here, almost deal with this problem. So he was actually in prison for 2 or 3 days. So the policemen are like, okay, madam, please take your child. Again, the other thing you find is, professionals in the work environment, it becomes very difficult because even for myself, I'm not comfortable to self-disclose to the HR department because I genuinely don't know how they'll react.
With awareness levels being alarmingly low, she says the government can do more.
Epilepsy is one of the broader non-communicable diseases, which at the moment have very little funding from the Ministry of Health. So if we up that, then automatically anything under NCDs gets, more funding. As far as, like I was saying, if it's on the education part, just starting with the teachers and the parents, having simple to understand information about just the basics, have it in at least Kiswahili and English.
But tuko na tailoring center iko Githurai place inaitwa Mwihoko.
Diagnosed with epilepsy in 2011 while working as a pastry chef in Dubai, Fred Kiserem says after being in denial, not managing the attacks, he got into an accident that almost cost his arm, an incident that led him to advocate for the condition.
I used to develop seizures and convulsing, and a friend of mine told me that might be epilepsy, but I didn't know what is epilepsy, so I had to go back to the books and start reading what is epilepsy. Like myself, I didn't know, and doctors even didn't know how my epilepsy started.
Fearlessly advocating for epilepsy, Fred Beuchi in 2018 walked from Nairobi to Mombasa, creating awareness. This year, with a team of 10, he cycled from Nairobi to Arusha in Tanzania and climbed Mount Kilimanjaro.
It was very inspirational, it was emotional. You get there and you start crying for no reason. At some point I had get a glimpse of the most difficult places to hike within the whole journey. But there's no option of saying there's another different route to use. I also called my guide and I told him, I think by the time I get up there, I will just drop dead. So at some point he was telling me, you see the way you keep mentioning like you will die, this is altitude sickness. So we made our way all the way to Huru Peak. We were able to actually get there and flash out the flags to show support for epilepsy awareness in Africa. And we spent like 20 minutes or so because it was getting worse. The weather was getting worse and worse.
having to take care of his sister with epilepsy at age of 2 due to cerebral malaria and getting to understand how to manage it when she turned 6, his passion was sparked and the journey to create awareness soon began. Door to door, businesses to businesses, the responses were strangely overwhelming.
So many of them had questions like, "Are you going to kweli inapona?" You know, and we had to really do a lot of explanation to tell them yes. Also, we could get to ask them what are the misconceptions that you guys have heard about epilepsy. Like, mtu ameanguka na unamuuliza utamsaidia vipi, anasema leta kijiti, tunamweka kwa mdomo so that they don't bite their tongue. Pouring water on them. Mwingine akasema, the last time I saw a person like that, walichukua kiatu enye ilikuwa na harufu mbaya wakamweka kwa pua so that senses zirudi. So everybody had their own kind of story to tell, and that would always give us an opportunity now to start a conversation with them about what really epilepsy is.
In order to help a person during an epilepsy attack, these are the steps to take.
Number one, you should not give them, you should not put anything inside their mouth. Whether it's a piece of cloth, whether it's a stick, whether it's anything that so many people have been putting because of the fear that they might end up biting their tongue. Indeed, when a seizure is happening, because of the tightening of the muscles, they can either bite their lips or their tongue. But at the end of the day, that is just an injury that can be treated. The worst that can happen when you are there trying to put something inside their mouth and the muscles have tightened, you are not sure at what point the seizure will be over. And immediately the seizure is over, the muscles relax and you are there trying to push something in their mouth. So it might end up also choking them and even causing death. And the second thing that you should not do is do not restrain them while they are jerking. So jerking is the fitting. Do not restrain them. That's the only way a seizure can come out of the body. But if you call so many people to hold them and restrain them, it means all those shocks from the seizure end up in the muscles. So by the time the seizure is over, they are very weak. They cannot even stand by themselves and walk. So that's why we say do not restrain them. And finally, do not give them any drink or any food while they're in that seizure.
With a goal to reach 5 million people advocating for rights for epilepsy, demystifying myths around the condition, and coming up with materials with local indigenous African languages, and also aiming to raise funds, Beuchi says the target was met, although there's still a long way to go. Feeling accomplished, he says that this is only the beginning. Epilepsy is real and it can be managed. Reporting for Switch TV, my name is Harriet Chimea.
And now in the business world, we start with some good news, a sweet deal indeed. You're about to spend less on sugar as the Ugandan sugar has been allowed to tap the Kenyan market after the neighboring countries ended their negotiations. The two countries have agreed that Kenya would allow up to 90,000 metric tons of Ugandan sugar to access its market duty-freely annually. Of the 90,000 metric tons, 20,000 metric tons will access the Kenyan market immediately, and the rest awaits a clearance following a verification process. The Ugandan sector is compensating for the shortage of sugar being experienced in the country currently due to the closures of the sugar processing companies. Kenya is yet to confirm that Uganda has the capacity to export high-quality sugar and to verify which Ugandan factories are fit to make sugar to be consumed locally. The new sugar trade development is expected to spur both countries' economic growth and also further strengthen bilateral ties. crossing borders and is still in the business world. After leaving the EU on 31st January 2020, the UK entered a transitional period that will end on 31st of December, during which virtually free mobile phone data roaming will end. However, UK customers may notice little change. The four main mobile providers in the UK, that is the EE, O2 and Vodafone, and also Three, have said they have no plans to reintroduce the roaming charges, unlike the previous rule by the World Trade Organization that applied to EU countries. Some products will not incur 50% tariff charges, as Joan Kutuni now reports.
Food products such as meat, dairy and cereals sold in the UK could have faced tariffs of as much as 50% under World Trade Organization rules, but the Brexit deal means there will be no tariffs on products sold between the UK and the EU, allowing companies on both sides to keep trading in a similar way. This is expected to prevent price rises and keep shelves stocked. Rules for business trips and holidays will change as free movement of people between the EU and the UK comes to an end. UK citizens will be allowed to stay in the EU for 90 days in any 180-day period without a visa, and the same will apply for EU citizens in the UK. UK citizens wishing to travel to Europe shall have at least 6 months left on their passport before they travel. From 2022, they will have to pay for a visa waiver scheme to visit many EU countries. Reporting for Switch TV, my name is Joan Cotton.
Well, time to now get sporty. Juventus forward Cristiano Ronaldo has been crowned the player of the century at the Dubai Globe Soccer